All right, I think that's everything. I always forget brain freeze right before we get started. All right, so good morning and welcome to our whole body. We're going to do a flow stretch for muscle soreness this morning. So this request has come from myself with all the gyms opening this week, or most of the gym studios opening this week. And I took my first class back with people yesterday, which was so good. I think a lot of people are in the same boat. We've gone back to training in the gyms and we haven't done much for 2 months. So sore muscles, tight muscles. So this morning will be a little bit gentle flow and we'll cover the chest, the shoulders, back, legs. We'll get into as much of it as we can. So for the beginning of our practice though, we'll lay back, get comfortable. As usual, no equipment necessary for any of these classes. If you've got anything around the house, yoga props or man-made pillows, blankets, things like that, you can use them. But we're just here, us, our bodies, our mats, as we bring our awareness into the breath. So just taking our time to get settled this morning. Feeling into what we've got going on. If we are someone who's been back doing other forms of training, other forms of exercises, or even just noticing what our tendencies are day to day. The muscles that we work, the tension that we create in the different areas of the body. We're just taking this time now to notice where that is for us. If we've got muscle soreness or just general tightness, maybe some postural things going on. Just allowing ourselves, as we focus in on the breath here, using our exhales to see if we can just create some softness in these spaces. Easing out tension in the muscle fibers, the tissues of the body. With each breath, getting a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more at ease in our bodies. Our practice, our yoga is personal. So whatever we've got going on this morning, we can modify, we can change, we can take rest wherever we'd like it. This is our practice. We're in the comfort of our own homes. So just listening into our bodies and letting these sensations guide our flow, our stretch, our practice this morning. As we breathe in, we're drawing deep down to the belly. Expand up to chest. And release from the chest, down and out the belly. Extending these inhales slightly, maybe drawing in a little further, a little more oxygen into the body. Exhaling as we relax a little more of ourselves into the mat. And just observing whatever mental activity we've got going on this morning, if we've had a busy morning already. If we've been dwelling on things, excited about things, anxious about things. Just allowing whatever comes to come. Whatever stays, letting it stay. And whatever goes, letting it go. And just putting down the controller for the next hour. Just letting our mind, our body be free to be themselves, exactly as they are on our mats today. As we add a little wriggle through fingers and toes, we'll gently draw the knees in towards the chest, squeezing into our ball. Oh, my favorite start, left and right, rocking curling in. Maybe we've got that muscle soreness in the muscles of the back. We can massage them out. Just rocking and rolling, any direction, whatever feels good. And taking our happy baby, opening the soles of the feet to the ceiling, allowing those knees to lower to mat. The head and shoulders are rested. As little tension as possible through these facial muscles. We can add a little smile if we're too serious. And just gently moving the body weight through the different muscles of the back, just getting that gentle press into the floor, little massage. And releasing those feet, lowering them down to the mat. We'll take the feet and the knees together, our single windscreen wiper, left and right, this gentle rock. So moving from the hips into the lower back, the sides of the lower back. This gentle twist if we're tight through the hips, if we've been doing leg exercises, things like squats, lunges, just loosening out here. And back through center. We'll keep on the leg focus. We'll take this right foot over the left leg. Our thread the needle. We're taking this right arm through, interlacing the fingers as we rest the head and shoulders and draw that left leg in towards the chest. So the only tension we have is this strengthening through the arms, drawing this left leg in. Scan the body from head to toe. If we're clenching through the facial muscles, the jaw, feeling that soften out. If the shoulders feel hunched, easing them down. And releasing this side, swapping over. So taking that left foot over the right leg, left arm comes through. Settling through this upper body, head to toe, soften it out, and gently draw that right leg in. Checking in on that breath, nice steady flow of inhales and exhales. And releasing out here. We'll take our left leg nice and long, drawing our right knee into the chest, coming into our supine twist, this right arm extending out. Getting this opening down that right side of the body, opening up through the chest, through the upper body. As we exhale, feeling that right leg relaxed a little further. We're not trying to push it to the floor. Gravity's taking hold, but we want to keep our right shoulder towards the mat. If that's peeling off, we're going to lose that opening through the thoracic spine. Deep belly breaths even in our twists. And returning back through center, drawing that left knee into chest, lengthening out through the right leg, coming into our twist on the opposite side. So we're opening that heart up towards the ceiling. coming back to center. Knees to chest, rock and roll. Make our way up to seated. So sitting nice and tall here. And we're just going to interlace the fingers into the lap. Keeping these shoulders relaxed on our in-breath, drawing the hands up towards the chest as we exhale, pressing away, rounding through the spine as we inhale, opening tall, lengthening up the sides of the body. Exhale, releasing down. Interlace behind the hips, inhale, open through the chest. Exhale, returning those hands back to the lap. Inhale, lift. Exhale, big press away. Getting that lengthening down the back of the back, the back of the body. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, releasing down. On this in-breath, open the heart, widen the collarbone, shoulders relaxed. Exhale, hands to lap. One more time, inhale. Big push away. Tall, lift up, lengthen up through this whole upper body. Exhale, softly release down. Interlacing, inhale to open. Exhale, returning these hands to the mat. Taking our in-breath, we'll lift up nice and tall through the hands. As we exhale, releasing this right hand to the mat, reach those left fingertips across. As we inhale, coming back up nice and tall. Exhale, opposite side. So we're getting into the sides of the body if we've been doing things like chin-ups. Our lat pull downs, so we're getting this strengthening, tightening through the lats, the side body. We're just finding this length now, easing out the tension. On our way back to our first side, we're going to take a little hold this time. So we're reaching out through these left fingertips, grounding through that left side of our hip. On our next inhale, coming back nice and tall. Exhale, opposite side. So we're holding here, ground that right side to ground. So nice and long through these right fingertips, creating as much space as we can away from that right side hip. And returning our way back nice and tall. We'll come into our shoulders, we'll inhale these hands to rise. As we exhale, taking this right hand down and around, coming into our eagle wrap. Actually, I'll give you an option. We can, as we take this, we've got the option to come back out. We can either sit in our cross-legged position. If we'd like to, we can bring this left foot towards the right side hip. And we can bring that left foot around so that we're stacking through the legs, keeping that right side hip to the floor. If we'd like to get into the hips a little further, the glutes, we've got this option. So taking that inhale tall, if we haven't already, bringing that right arm down and around. So we can either have the backs of the hands facing each other, or we can place the palms towards each other, and then just starting to elevate through the elbows. So we're taking this shoulder stretch along the back of the upper body. We're lengthening up through the fingertips. And if we'd like to, we can take a little fold forward. So if we've taken this cross of the legs, just gently lowering in here, keeping those hips to ground. So feeling that stretch through the glutes if we've taken our wrap of the legs. It's a nice little opening here. And keep it gentle. So we want to be in a position that's still comfortable or comfortably uncomfortable to be in. We want to be able to breathe steady, be at ease with the body. We don't want to be forcing ourselves into these positions. And releasing our way back up nice and tall, unwrapping the arms. If we've taken those legs wrapped, we can release those. If we're cross-legged, we're moving into our opposite side. If we're taking this wrap, this right foot towards the left side hip, bringing that left leg around. I'm mixing up my lefts and rights this morning. And when we're ready, inhale, hands up. Exhale, that opposite side, left arm down and around. My shoulders are so tight this morning. So the problem with muscle soreness is it makes yoga so much harder to do in terms of the flexibility and getting comfortable. So we're elevating through those fingertips. Again, we've got that option to fold forwards. And releasing back up nice and tall. Unwrapping of the arms, unwrapping of the legs. We'll come back to cross-legged. We'll keep going with these shoulders. So we're going to inhale this left arm up and over, taking it to our right shoulder. This right hand can come to the elbow, maybe getting a little tricep stretch in here. Or we can bring this right arm around, interlacing the fingers, taking our opening this way. So trying to interlace the fingers, but if it's not quite there, we can grab hold of our shirt, or if we've got a tea towel or something handy, just to draw those hands in towards each other a little closer, getting this stretch through the shoulders. Making sure we're sitting tall. If we're tight through the shoulders, we can get that tendency to lean forward to try and take hold of the hands, always making sure that we're sitting tall first, and then just taking hold of whatever's available. On those in-breaths, we're opening up through the front of the body. Exhale, soften through these shoulders, down through the shoulder blades. One more breath in. And releasing this side, taking our left arm across the body, using that right arm to draw that in. So we're getting this stretch along the left shoulder. So if we've been doing things like shoulder presses, if we do things like pump classes, anything barbells, dumbbells, overhead work, even our push-ups, things like that, chest training uses a lot of our shoulders. So it's nice if you do have that muscle soreness. It is temporary relief, but stretching does bring that relief to the tension and that DOMS, that delayed onset muscle soreness, that soreness you feel the next day or the day after. And let's release it. Out here, we'll inhale that right arm up and over this time, taking that hand to opposite shoulder, left hand to elbow, or coming around, interlacing. Am I going to get this one today? Just. So same again. So making sure that we're able to sit tall, that we can still take our deep breaths. One of the things I love most about teaching yoga is there is such a strong emphasis on just being as you are on your mats. This morning has been a personal trainer and boot camp instructor for over 10 years. And I remember I was 20 at the time, so I started, with that philosophy of train hard, push through whatever, no matter how you're feeling. Just do it attitude. And I still do boot camps, I still take spin classes. Okay, we'll release this side out, taking that right arm across, using that left arm to draw in. But certainly my philosophy has changed on just attitude towards training. Or maybe finding that balance, that midpoint where still being able to challenge yourself, but in a way that promotes that self-care still. We need that strengthening, we need that tension through the muscles as well. but we certainly get a better understanding of not tipping too far one way or the other. Taking one more breath in here. Exhale, releasing out. Let's walk these hands forwards, coming into a little fold here. Lengthening down that lower back now. Keeping those sit bones to ground. Actually, from here, we're going to stack the forearms, just one in front of the other. On an inhale, we're going to reach our left fingertips up towards the sky. As we exhale, returning the arm back towards the floor, swapping sides. Now, if this is too intense for the lower back, if we're really tight through the hips and the lower back, we can rest these forearms to the inner thighs. So as another option is to place them up a little high. We just want to focus on getting this opening through that upper body. So if we're overly tense through the chest, if we do a lot of push exercises, if we have that prone to that hunch in the upper back, not necessarily training, even if it's just our day-to-day life, if we're sitting down a lot at a desk chair, sitting over a desk, a computer, a monitor, it's a nice one to free up that mobility through the upper spine. And then returning those hands back to floor, we'll press our way up, sitting nice and tall, and then walking our hands forwards, coming into our tabletop position. So stacking those shoulders over palms, knees underneath the hips. We'll take some little hip circles. So take a breath in here at the top as we exhale, taking the hips down to the right, brushing past the heels, using our in-breath to come back up. So as we exhale, opposite side, opposite direction. Inhale, coming up tall. And just taking these circles. Maybe we can grow them a little, maybe drawing the hips down towards the heels a little closer. And one more round. Coming back up to all fours. Our cat-cow, we're going to inhale, dropping that belly towards the mat, opening the heart towards the front. As we exhale, let's round through that spine. Press away through the arms. Inhale, open. So getting this lengthening along the front of the body. As we exhale, we tuck that tailbone under, lengthening down the back. Use that breath. Notice, are we taking those full inhales on our opening? Full exhales on our rounding. Making our way back to our neutral spine. Tucking our toes under, coming into our downward facing dog. Little pedal out here. We can walk our dog if that feels good. Alternating that bend from one knee to the other. So getting those hamstrings, things like deadlifts. If we're doing deadlifts or hamstring curls. Cycling, if we've been doing spin classes. Another one, getting into those hamstrings, calves. And then let's walk the feet forwards. Coming into our ragdoll at the top of our mat here, bending those knees, fold the upper body over the hips. So we're fully relaxed here. That head can nod, yes or no. We can add a little sway through this upper body. Just check in with those hammies if they're feeling tight. That lower back, if it's feeling tight, a little bend through the knees a little further. All right, let's release these fingertips to the floor, slowly uncurling our way to standing. Finding our Tadasana, we're going to shrug the shoulders at the top. Spreading those fingers wide, pick up the toes, spread them wide, place them back to the mat. On our inhale, we're going to take hands to rise. As we exhale, folding forwards, opening through the front of the body on the way down. Inhale, our half lift, lengthening through that spine. As we exhale, folding forwards. Bend the knees, press our way up through the feet. So inhale, rising tall. This time we're going to take a lean to our left-hand side. So we're grounding through that right foot, leaning to the left, getting that side body stretch. Inhale, tall. Exhale, opposite side. So again, down that side body, things like our chin-ups, our lat work. Inhale, tall. One more each side. Our obliques as well, if we're doing oblique ab work. Getting that little bit of lengthening in there. Inhale, back nice and tall. As we exhale, folding forwards, heart open. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, stepping back to our high plank. So core engagement here, hugging that tummy. Abs nice and firm, belly button in towards the spine. Keeping that length in the lower back. Take our breath in at the top. Exhale, chaturanga, let's lower. As we inhale, we're opening into our back bend. As we exhale, taking our downward facing dog. Beautiful. Let's gaze forwards, bend the knees, stepping or hopping our feet to front. Inhale, our half lift. Exhale, hands to mat, stepping our right foot back for our crescent lunge. Inhale, hands rise. Exhale, we're deepening down through the hips here, so we're lowering, feeling the stretch now in that right hip flexor. So setting our gaze on one point out in front. With each exhale, maybe softening down a little further, just making sure we keep that lower back nice and long. So if we feel like we're compressing into it, draw those front tips of the hips up towards the ribs, tucking that tailbone under, so imagining it like a seesaw, and then seeing if we can deepen, keeping that stability around the hips. Okay, taking our hands down to the hips, taking a half step forward with this right foot. Going to take that foot at 45 degrees, taking a breath in. As we exhale, folding forwards over this left leg, taking our hamstring stretch. We can either keep hands to hips, we can take them to rest on that front thigh towards the mat. If we'd like to add a little back bend, we can interlace the fingers behind the hips, opening up through the heart. So, yogi's choice, all of our options, feel into what we need, but we want to be feeling this stretch through that left hamstring. And let's return those hands to the hips. Core engaged on an in-breath, bringing this upper body nice and tall. We're going to step this right foot further back. And I'm going to do a little shimmy here. So we're stepping that right foot further back. And we're going to angle our outer edges of the feet to the outer edges of the mat. Keeping the hands on the hip, we're going to open through the heart. As we exhale, folding forward. So taking our wide leg forward fold. If we'd like to, we can take that stance a little wider. If you've got props, blocks, anything that you'd like to underneath the hands for support. If you're comfortable here, starting to just lower through that upper body or release through that upper body. We can walk the palms in line with the heels if that feels good. So my modification with my blood pressure, I support myself with the palms. I don't fold all the way forward. So making sure that we're any of these postures through the practice today and all practices, modifying where we need to. So you should feel it through those inner thighs, those inner adductors. We're grounding through the outer edges of the foot, little pockets of air underneath the arches of the feet. Placing that left hand, we'll place the right hand underneath the chest. On an inhale, taking these left fingertips towards the ceiling. As we exhale, returning the hand back to the mat. Change your stance if you need to, if it makes it a bit more comfortable. On the inhale, right fingertips tall. Exhale, Releasing that hand back to the floor. Continue this flow. So we're getting this opening now, back up through the upper body. Plenty of twists this morning. So if we're working that upper body in our training, if we feel stiff, if we feel tight, sore, it's nice, these dynamic stretches, to loosen it up a little rather than just going straight into our deep stretch. It's generally, if we're feeling that muscle soreness, if we can move things out, it usually helps. So I find with mine as well, swimming, if you've been, not laps, just lazing around in the water, I find really helps loosen things up after getting that soreness after training. All right, let's release these hands back to the floor. We'll take them to the hips. Core engaged, firm tummy, inhale, standing back nice and tall. We're going to step that right foot back to the front of our mat into our Tadasana, fingers spread wide as we inhale, hands rise. Exhale, forward fold. Taking our half lift on our in-breath, extend through the crown of the head, nice and long. Exhale, high plank, step or hop back. Take our breath in. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, open. Exhale, downward facing dog. This time inhaling that right heel to sky. Bend the knees, step that foot through, crescent lunge. So rising up through those fingertips. And we're going to lower down again. So check through the hips that we're anchoring that tailbone. Front tips coming tall. And sinking our way deep, feeling it through that left hip flexor this time. Take a breath in. Exhale those hands to hips. Half step in with this left foot, so bringing that foot to 90 degrees. Take our breath in. So we're squaring off the hips to shoulders. Take our breath in. Open heart, exhale to fold, either keeping hands to hips, resting them to the thigh, placing them to the mat, or interlacing behind, opening up a little further through the chest. Yogi's choice. This right knee can be as bent or as straight as we'd like, but our focus is on feeling it through the right hamstring rather than a tingling sensation behind the knee. So if we know we're tight through the backs of the legs, add a little bend, and we feel it as we fold forwards, targeting the belly of the muscle. We're feeling distracted, we're floating off into thought, just bringing that awareness back to the breath. And returning those hands to the hips, pressing through the soles of the feet as we make our way tall, turning that right foot, stepping out into our wide leg forward fold. Have a play with our stance. Take a breath in. Exhale, folding forwards. So any support that we'd like beneath the hands, or we can start to walk them back. We can take that fold all the way forward as far as comfortable. And on this side, we're going to walk our hands over to the left-hand side if that feels good. So folding a little further over this left leg. making our way back to fold over our right leg. So remembering those outer edges of the feet we're pressing into to keep us from caving into the arches of the feet. And returning our way back to the middle, placing those hands to hip, press through those feet as we inhale tall. Stepping that left foot to the front of our mat. Let's inhale, hands rise. Exhale, dive. Half lift. High plank, stepping or hopping. Take that breath in. Chaturanga. Keep those elbows in nice and tight. As we inhale, opening through our heart. Shoulders are relaxed. As we exhale, lengthening through those sit bones into our downward facing dog. Opening the chest towards the thighs. As we inhale, we're going to come to high plank. So we're drawing our chest forwards. We're going to exhale, chaturanga, all the way down, lowering our chest towards the mat. So I'm going to shuffle back a little bit, just making sure we've got space here out in front of us. We're going to take this right arm out on a 45-degree angle with a little bend in our elbow, using this left palm pressing into the floor, keeping our right shoulder low, opening up here to get this chest stretch. So you might have done this one before in a doorway, where we're opening up that chest. This is what we want to mimic here on the floor. So have a play with that hand position. We want to feel it through this right side of the chest. And this is the one that I've been hanging out for all session. So this one, if you're doing things like chest presses, bench presses, push-ups, all those push exercises, chest flies. If we've been doing boot camps with plenty of push-ups or burpees with push-ups included, this should be a nice sweet relief for us. From here, we're going to make our way back to laying on our tummy. We're going to bring this right palm underneath that armpit, taking our left arm out this time, so taking about that 45-degree angle. Add that bend to the elbow, press through the right palm, opening up here. So peeling ourselves open, feeling that stretch through the left side of the chest now, our pec major, pec minor. Balances out that hunching that we get in the upper back. And returning our way back through center. We're going to come into our downward facing dog. So tucking those toes under, lifting up through our sit bones, opening through that chest towards the thighs. We're going to lower our knees down to the mat, coming into our downward puppy, walking those hands a little further forward so we can focus on this upper body element of our dog. So opening through the chest. So we want to open that chest towards the mat. We can either rest the forehead or the chin towards the floor. We can have flat palms, or we can come up to the fingertips. We're getting this opening along the front of the body. This is one of my favorites as someone who does suffer from sitting too much and especially folding forwards, that hunching forwards in the upper body. This is a really lovely one to be able to stand a little taller. And returning our way back up to tabletop, getting back into the lats a little more here. We're going to take that right hand out over in front of the left, a breath in at the top. As we exhale, we're lowering down, so feeling this stretch down the right side. This is another one I've been hanging out for. So swimmers as well, if you do swimming training, lats are another big muscle group that we use for that freestyle butterfly breaststroke. And returning our way back up to all fours, swapping sides, that left hand out over in front of the right. Take that breath in, use the exhale to lower so we can feel into that stretch along the left side of the body. If we need to walk that hand out a little further, we can, or leaning into the left through the torso. And back up to our tabletop. We're going to step this left foot outside the left hand, coming into our lizard lunge now, getting this opening back through the hips. Now we can either ease our way down here through the upper body, getting that opening through that left side hip. If we'd like to dig in further into that right hip flexor, into the quad, we can take our hand back, taking hold of this right foot. Now, if you'd like to take a quad stretch or get into that quad, but can't quite reach that leg, you can also lay down on your side and taking hold of the foot that way, bringing those knees together, keeping the hips forwards. Should do a roll over of that one. I'm facing the other way. So taking it that way. So just as an option, if that's your focus rather than the hip flexors, we can get into the quads more, that one, drawing the heel in towards the hip. Otherwise, we're here taking hold of that back foot as an option, and drawing that heel in towards the bum. So especially good for cyclists. So our hip flexors, if we're doing a lot of cycling, spin classes, road riding, mountain biking, this is a particularly good one to relieve that tension through those hip flexors. All right, let's release this back foot. We're going to swap sides. So taking that left foot back to our tabletop, that right foot stepping out this time. Our options, if we'd like to lay on our side and take our quad stretch, we can. If we'd like to deepen here by lowering our torso down or taking hold So as well as relief post-training, for me personally, I find as someone with really tight hips, hip flexors, before any training of the legs, if you're doing things like squats, if you're doing deadlifts, lunges, things like that, and you're really tight through the hips, I find if you do these stretches before your session as well, it can really help with range of motion. So I know sometimes if I haven't stretched in a while and I'm trying to squat down low, I'll get that tension through the lower back instead if I don't have that range of motion. So you can do these pre-training to help with mobility. And let's release out this side, returning back to our tabletop. I'm mindful of the time I'm watching it count down, downward facing dog. If you'd like to take a flow to get here, we can if you're enjoying that movement through the body. Take a vinyasa, can meet in our downward dog. We're going to come into pigeon, so we're going to inhale that left heel to the sky. Exhaling that left foot towards the right wrist. Easing our way down. So I'm going to lengthen that right leg, keeping that right hip low. As we soften down here, to stretch out the glutes. Squats, lunges, running, everything. The glutes are, there's so much of our leg training involves the glutes. Deadlifts, things like leg press, pistol squats, so leg days in general, pump classes, any of those bar classes. If you've done power yoga with me, we get into the glutes as well. So it's nice to have that balance of keeping them strong and also stress-free. And swapping sides, making our way into our opposite side. Our own choice of how we get there. If you'd like to flow first, we can. If you'd like to come up through downward dog and just move straight in, it's another option. Maybe it depends on how sore we are feeling this morning. Take our time working with the breath, easing in and easing out of everything we do. Squaring off these hips. If we want to deepen into the stretch, we can take that right foot towards the left elbow a little further. If we've been drifting off, just really, really hone in, listen into the sensations of the stretch. So feeling it through this right glute, sensation through the muscle fibers, how it changes with the breath. Especially in these postures where we're not actively doing anything, we're getting in our position, so gravity works for us. We can just lay here, but soften through the hips. So it's effortless action. The full benefit of doing nothing. Let's begin to press our way back out. So this time, what do? We'll lower the right hip to the floor. We'll do one last little double hamstring. So we'll take our legs out nice and long, drawing those toes back into chest, sitting tall as we inhale, rise. Exhale, fold forwards. It's always nice to get more hamstrings in. So bend those knees if we need to, if we're feeling that tightness along the back. Belly button towards the thighs. And releasing here. Sitting up nice and tall, soles of the feet to the mat. Shuffling forwards, taking hold behind the hamstrings as we gently lower our way to the floor. We'll bring the heels in towards the hips, taking those feet, knees together, and then opening the legs out like a book. Our Supta Baddha Konasana. Recline bound angle. If there's anything else that we'd like to move through, this would be our last one before our Shavasana. If there's anything else we'd like to take, so checking in with our own bodies, anywhere that's sore, anywhere that would be beneficial if we'd like to do, if an inversion is part of our regular practice, we have that option. And just keeping that awareness to the breath. Anywhere that we have tension, that it doesn't need to be, feeling it dissolve out. When we're ready, from whichever option we've taken, if we're Supta Baddha Konasana, bring these knees back in towards each other from whatever posture we've taken. We'll lengthen our way out into our Shavasana. Arms by sides, palms open. Resting the eyelids. Any last little movements to take? Prioritizing our comfort as we rest here and just take these last few minutes, turning inwards. our awareness back into the physical body. Notice how we're feeling now in terms of tension and soreness compared to the beginning of our practice, our first Shavasana. So we rest a little deeper into our mat. And drawing in a little deeper on our next inhale. And a little longer on our exhale. Wriggling through fingers and toes. Using our next in-breath, reaching the arms up overhead. Taking our full body stretch, lengthening from fingertips to toe tips as we roll over to one side. Gently making our way up to seated. Sitting tall, lengthening through the crown of the head as we take our hands to heart center. Now a moment to be grateful to ourselves for taking this time for self-care and all the self-care that we do. There's all sorts of form of physical exercise. There's time for our yin, there's time for our yang, there's time for our stretch, there's time for our strengthen. So just grateful to ourselves for all the different times that we take out of our day or our week to take care of ourselves. As we bow our heads to our hands, we honour ourselves and each other with Namaste.